men who do want to date modern women and do feel like, okay, they're having that challenge, they should speak up, like you said. But women need to be receptive as well, because we're
Right.
sensitive a lot of times. So
Mm-hmm.
if the man open his mouth, he doesn't even want to, because we take everything so personal and like we can't hear anything is wrong with us. So
Yeah.
I think both sides need to be in on that conversation and understand, hey, if we're going to try to make this thing work, we have to really be receptive to what's going to work in this kind of modern day that we have going on. Okay, so we have another lovely lady on the show today. As you guys will know her, Nadia, say hi.
Hello. Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's always a pleasure having you. Nadia is one of my ride or die. She's a top fan, if you guys
Yeah.
remember, on the show.
Self-proclaimed top friend, yes.
And officially, according to Facebook, and you are the top fan on the show. Thank you so much for being on here.
Thank
So
you.
Nadia, okay, so we know your name's Nadia. Nadia, tell me, what's your profession?
Well, I'm actually a local government employee. I'm a manager. I've been there about 16 years, and I've been in my current position for about 3.5.
Okay, okay. And can you let me know your age for the record, please?
Yes, I'm a lovely Gemini, and I am 43.
Y'all ladies kill me when I when I ask. I love the personality. You guys are amazing. Okay, so I wanted to talk about kind of what your definition of a modern day woman is. Okay, compared to the traditional woman, what would you define to be a modern day woman?
I would say a modern day woman is someone who, well, a woman who wants to be treated equally as far as in the workforce, someone that wants to be respected, someone that wants to have a say in the family and their relationship, someone that can take care of herself and provide for herself financially and emotionally for her family, and just someone that wants to be taken, not looked down as, upon, but to be seen as the equal to a man in the workforce and in certain situations.
Okay, you kind of gave a textbook definition. Love it.
What's that?
I love it. Okay, so Nadia, so let's talk about the dating field nowadays, right? So traditionally, as you mentioned, women now can, actually support themselves. They're making enough money. So, traditionally that was not the case. So, women oftentimes, when you're in a relationship, you kind of depended on the man financially. So the
Mhm.
fact that it's totally different now, you're a manager, what do you think an actual, man nowadays can bring to you as a modern day woman?
Well, and not to be long-winded, but when I think about my grandmother, her and my grandfather, my mom's side, were married in 1948, and she was about 23, and he was about 35. So just looking at how their relationship, they're both, passed on, but growing up and seeing their relationship, and she told me, several times that she was always a housewife. And basically, I don't really know the level of education she had, or him, but I know that he, was the provider financially. So I don't think that now women are, well, let me just finish that thought. He provided for her and the family financially and provided security, with a home for them to live in, where they felt safe, and he provided those things. So being a provider and for being that protector and security. Even as a modern day woman, even though we don't need as much financially support, as back then, I'm not saying we don't need it all, but depending on the woman and her financial situation. But a lot of women that are, making six figures or may not need a man for that financial. But I believe that we still need men to provide and protect and provide security. So when I say provide, they may not be providing financially as much, but we still need to provide them to provide stability,
Mm-hmm.
them to be that protector for us and our family, them to be the leadership and someone that we can respect and look up to. Those are some of the things that even though, my grandmother, and just using them as an example, she looked up to my grandfather for those things, just not just that financial aspect. So I think a modern woman now, we still want that person to be secure, be our security, to provide that, to let us know that, We can trust them. They're going to be loyal. They're going to be our best friends. They're going to be our cheerleader. They're going to be our, you know, just main supporter as well as we are to them. So even though it looks different, we still need that and still want that, security and to be provided for, just in a different way.
Oh, see, because that's really interesting because I think all of the women have kind of mentioned that whole support thing. Support seems really big because, again, financially you could provide for yourself and all that, but you still want that support. You want that cheerleader. You want someone who's going to be there, but then you also want someone that can lead. So my question to you is, do you think you can look as a man as a lead if you're making more than him and he's more in a supporting role? Can you still see that man as a lead in the home?
Oh, definitely, definitely. That wouldn't the finances wouldn't be a big deterrent to say, "Oh, I can't respect you because I make more money than you." It could just be, I've seen situations, even working for the government, is people at different levels of education, different levels of position. I've seen people with high school diplomas be directors, and people with master's degrees be clerks, assistants. So that I don't really go by, the money that they're making. I'm going by how they treat me, how they lead their lives, what kind of character they have, what their moral stances are in life. Do I
Mhm.
agree with those things? Can I respect them enough to, when they make a decision, I can trust that they're making good decisions for me and my family, and that would affect me and my family. And so the money wouldn't really matter. Is more or less more about their character and who they are as a person. Are they loyal? Are they trustworthy? Are they concerned about my well-being? Are they bringing something to the table, as in wanting to love me and to be that protector, not just, oh, she makes her money, then I can just do whatever I want my money and just use hers, just making those wise decisions. So, as you go through the dating phase, just seeing how he lives his life and how he makes those decisions will be the determining factor whether I can respect him and look up to him.
That's good because I like that you gave practical things because that's the thing. Women can say, I want him to lead, I want him to protect me, but what does that look like, right? Because a lot
Mhm.
of times I think people equate, the money as leadership. If I can be the breadwinner in the house, I can then lead. But I like how you said that it's how are you leading your life right now? The money that you do have, the resources that you do have, how are you managing that? Your decision
Right.
making skills, how are you deciding on things in your life? So that was I like that you gave that real kind of example that you don't have to be making all this money, but it's how are you doing now? Are you loyal
Mhm.
now? Are you respectable now? So
Right.
I love that. That was very good. So my question to you, which I ask all the ladies, is because it's all good for them to say, yeah, he doesn't have to make as much. But when you think about lifestyle, right? You or all these women, want to, let's say, go eat certain places. They want to go out to certain places. So if the guy wallet isn't like that, are you okay with kind of fitting the bill a bit more than he would when you guys go to these different places?
Well, because I know you personally. I like to eat out. Well, that's just like a hobby of mine, really. Like to try
Uh-huh.
different ones, even though I kind of eat the same food. But no, I wouldn't mind. I think it's when you think of a relationship, if that's what it really depends on what phase you are in getting to know this person. But I believe that it needs to be a partnership, regardless. He got me when I don't have it, and I got him when he don't have it, type of thing. But at the same time, with men and women, you have to be really smart when dating. You don't want to give too much and then wind up being used. So you really have to start off the relationship foundationally, determining how many times will I pay and how many times will I let this person pay. If I know that, you know, to help him keep his manhood and not feel like I'm the one running the show, I may go, let's go to Chili's or something that maybe we can get 2 meals for $40, just to make sure that we stay within his budget.
Mm-hmm.
So in
On the
case,
times,
yeah, right.
on the
And then,
times he has to pay.
right. And then
Okay.
times that if I do want to go to something a little nicer, then I say, oh, you know what, let me treat you this time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know I'm going to pick something that may be a little bit more, but I'm paying. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So
Okay.
I would just make sure, try to even it out.
Mm-hmm.
So, but just so he wouldn't feel like, or, And I'm not saying, I'm hoping that whoever I'm dating wouldn't be this way. But there are situations where men will see the woman always paying and then they get used to it and they never want to pay,
Woo! Preach
So,
now. Come on.
but, I know the Lord wouldn't bring that to me. So I know that. So the type of men that I'm looking for and I'm desiring will have, character to not want to just take advantage and use someone, me or anyone else. So
Exactly.
to give him opportunities to pay, like I said. So, and then I would have opportunities for me to pay as well.
Okay, I love that. I love that. So this is great because different women are saying that because a lot of men are looking at women and thinking, okay, she's got this kind of job, she's looking this kind of way, high maintenance, like, hey, I cannot afford this woman. But it looks like women are willing to bend if you have other qualities that you can show them, and maybe
Mhm.
compensate for that. So again, a lot of times the women mention, okay, support, I need someone to support. Do you think the modern day woman is willing to support the man as well? Because if out there killing it and you need support, like, are you going to support and motivate him too and what he's trying to do as well?
Well, I think that's a part of when I say modern, I think
Yeah.
that was already built in most
Implied.
of them
Yeah.
anyway, that
Yeah.
we're going to be that supportive system to them. So that, like I said, with my grandmother, she depended on my grandfather to come home and bring the money. Whether or not she depended on him to be faithful, I don't know.
Mhm.
You know,
That's
so
another episode, right? This is kidding.
but nowadays, okay, that support is, I'm going support for the female. I'm going out in the work field doing these jobs where it was traditionally white male. I'm just saying, are just male dominated. I'm
Mhm.
doing a role where I'm managing people. I'm telling people what to do. I need you to, I may come home and gripe a little bit. Oh, can you believe what this person is, that person? That's how somebody can support me. And
Okay.
then the same thing when they come home to claim about their job, or just, if they say they want to have a new venture, or they want to try a new hobby, me supporting them is being there, um, what do you call it? Cheerleading for them when they're at
Mhm.
their events, or when they want to do something at their job, giving them the pep talk to go into that job every day. So us doing that for each other, I think
Okay.
is a way to be supportive.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so let's go on to the next question in terms of what challenges do you face? Being a modern day woman, trying to date now in the dating field, what challenges do you think you're facing right now?
Well, it's a few, and I don't really believe it has anything to do with modern.
Oh,
I
okay,
think
go ahead. You feel like it's just men nowadays?
it's just the times, not really
Okay, tell
modern
me what.
being modern. But I can
Okay.
say that I can see, now this isn't me personally, but
Mhm.
just witnessing of different situations and different relationships. Some men feel like women, being that we're in certain positions, we're not being feminine and we're
Okay,
not
now.
doing enough. We're, trying to take charge a little too much, where we're not showing that softer side. So, like I said, during the day, I'm in charge, doing a lot, making a lot of decisions and this and that. And then being a single parent and having my own house, I'm making this household decisions. So once someone does come in, I may have to pull that back because I've been doing it so long. And some women don't know how to turn it off. So
Mhm.
some men that are used that want to be in that leadership role and want to take charge, it may be a kind of like a push and pull type of situation because the woman is so used to doing it during the day, she has to know to turn it off at night. And sometimes, when you've been doing something so long, you don't even realize that you're doing it. She doesn't realize she's coming
Exactly.
across masculine. She doesn't realize that her femininity is not being shown. She doesn't realize it. So I think that that's one thing men are experiencing with maybe a modern day woman, if you want to use that term, is that they're thinking we're too much in charge and we don't know how to really submit and be and respect them as that lead in the household or a lead in relationship. And also I believe that, the times have changed to where relationships aren't seen the same.
Hmm.
It's not very this big high value with men to be married, to settle down with one woman, and I don't really know what it could be. I'm not, a data analyst or anything, but I do know, different things affect people differently. Like with I'll just say going on Instagram, YouTube, whatever, you see these beautiful women, young, I'm 43, so a lot of, I don't really see a lot of people my age, if they're not a celebrity, posting a lot of things on YouTube or Instagram that are more sexual, sexy and all of that. It's a lot of young, which is fine, but it's a lot of younger in their 20s. So I think, say, when my grandmother was, finding, dating my grandfather, he didn't see all of that. Like those
Mm.
people, we're in Fort Lauderdale. So if those women existed in California, when would he ever see that? So
Ooh, that's a
now
good
we
point.
have so much access to pictures and and then, sometimes men have this, wow, why should I get set of her? I saw this lady on Instagram. I may have a chance with her, even though she way in Berlin somewhere. I may have a chance with her. Yeah. So I think that so many, they see them in it, and they could not even be an option for these women, but they think they are. And that goes back to what Thaddeus said about average people don't want average. So yeah, like these men, average men, some above average, some below, but I just say average men, they have a lot of options, they feel like they do. And they
Mhm.
see a lot of options on social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I don't have those other things, so I can't name them. So, and with women, that can be like confidence beater, like when we see these women and it's like, wow, she looks like this, she like that, and then we're trying to compete, and it's just, it wears on our self-confidence. So sometimes when we do finally meet someone, or meet a guy, we're thinking about, oh, he probably wants a woman that looks like that girl on Instagram that I don't look like. And then we
Ooh.
wind up settling and doing things we wouldn't normally do, compromising too much. It's a lot of that. So the social media, I think, affects each sex just differently.
Ooh, that is such a good point that we haven't brought up yet on the show, in these discussions right here. So that's awesome. That is a good point. That is like a modern day issue, period,
Right,
in
right.
dating. Do you think you personally can turn it off? You're a manager at work all day. Do you think when you get home and you're in your relationship, do you think that you have a challenge turning it off?
Well, I've been single for 6 years. I have the slightest idea. I will be straight honest with you because I haven't had to. So I don't know. I would assume that I could, I'm thinking with all this knowledge I have in my head that I should be able to, but I don't know. I don't think we can really say until you get into it. You can say what you're going to do in a
Yeah.
situation, but then once you're in it, it may be more harder than you thought, or you may
Mhm.
thought that you're going to be a certain way, you're not. And then my thing is with me, if I ever do start dating someone seriously, how do I know when to turn it off? Is that a first date thing? Is that a end?
When you're
So
in his presence thing.
right. Yeah. So it's like, okay, how do I even
Yeah.
know it's on? I don't know, so I'm hoping so, I have faith that, and then too, I think a part of what would help in situations if a man knows that a woman is in a manager role or senior role, some kind of senior level, maybe if he wants to, I think really wants to put effort into getting to know the person and developing a relationship, I think it would help if he communicates that to her, to say, well, I know
Yes.
that you're, this all day, but, sometimes when you do XYZ and have some real situations, I feel like you're trying to take too much control. Let me run with this, or let me take this. And sometimes men don't want to do that. Sometimes men want you to already. I've heard men say, "Well, I want you to already know." When you've been a certain way for so long, you don't realize you're even doing it. So I think that would help as well.
Yeah, I thought you brought a good point when you said that. Like sometimes you don't know that you're doing it. So
Hmm.
I think if men are trying to date modern women, that they should give them some some be a little bit more sensitive to that. And like you
Hmm.
said, maybe tell them like, look, right now in these instances, you're acting really masculine right now.
Right.
Like I had someone, a coworker actually say that, like, he said, and he gave a really good example. He said, like, if you have a man and sometimes he's displaying feminine traits, like you don't like that, right? If he's
Hmm.
doing his hands a certain kind of way, he's speaking a certain kind of way, or he's not, he's doing things that you say are more feminine, like that really turns you off, right?
Hmm.
So
Right.
if you put yourself in those shoes, like that turns you off. It's the same thing when you bring all that masculine energy. So I think men who do want to date modern women and do feel like, okay, they're having that challenge, they should speak up, like you said. But women need to be receptive as well because we're
Right.
sensitive a
Yeah.
lot of times. So if
Mhm.
the man open his mouth, he doesn't even want to because we take everything so personal and like we can't hear anything is wrong with us. So
Yeah.
I think both sides need to be in on that conversation and understand, hey, if we're going to try to make this thing work, we have to really be receptive to what's going to work in this kind of modern day that we have going on. So with
Right.
you and your friends that you know of, like, are women just, do you find that women are just saying, okay, I gave up, I'm just going to be single, I'm going to hang out with my girlfriends, we're going to go to brunch, and like this is going to be my life, like I'm done, trying to date men right now? Do you find that going on?
Not at all.
No. What do you see? What do you see with women? They're just
I
running through
see
different
men
guys.
that they're interested in dating and they want, I don't know anyone, I would say I know several people are already married, so I have to take them out of my thought process here. And the
Mhm.
ones that I know that are single, they want a relationship, they want to be married, I don't know anyone that has said, and I was, well, let me backtrack, my aunts and women, I would say 70 and over may think that. So that's
Mhm.
what I won't. So I should exclude the older people. But I'm saying people maybe in their 40s and 50s that I know, yes, they do want a man. They do want a relationship. They do want, that companionship. They do want that person to spend their life with and to share their life with. So no, I don't know anyone that has
That's
said
just
that.
like, I'm done.
I'm
Okay.
done. I never want this. No.
Okay. And kind of the last question I want to ask was in terms of homemakers. So if have you what do you think your perception or kind of the perception is nowadays for women that are homemakers? Like if your daughter, for example, decided, hey, I don't want to get educated, I just want to be at home, want to be a homemaker, that's what I want for my life. Like, do you look down on that kind of thing? Do you think like the modern woman kind of looks down on that role?
I believe that it depends on the situation because, as a person, I have my master's degree and I work. But if there was a situation where, my children are older, so this wouldn't apply to me. But say if I had a situation where I met someone, excuse me, and had children, and said, okay, well, I'll just stay home with them until they go to school, At one point, I used to look at people like, wow, you have all this education. Why would you want to sit home? But, things have change. When I see these women who are homemakers, but they still have big side businesses and side hustles, like they still can do those things. And even the ones that don't do the side hustle and just strictly focus on their children, I just think that they get a bad rap because the modern woman, we don't want to be controlled. Like I said before, we want to be able to contribute and make our own decisions. So we see women who are homemakers and maybe the husband or the father of the children make all the money, they have no say in anything. So I think that's a part of why they may be looked down. It's like, oh, he brings some money. You have to ask him to get your hair and nails done. You have to ask him to, how much money you can send at the grocery store. The modern woman, we don't want to have to ask how to spend money, but it's his money, so you have to. But if you make your own, it wouldn't be that same. The conversation would be similar, but not the same. I'm sure you would
Yes.
need to talk to someone if you talk to your spouse if you want to buy a car. But if you want to just go out and spend $50 on your hair and nails or something, you don't have to ask. But if it's his money, you have to. So I
Hmm.
think it's mostly the control aspect that we don't like. But a homemaker, like I said, that's what I used to think about it. But now I see it as, this person is focusing on the children. And
Hmm.
just seeing that the way these children are now, a lot of
Mm.
kids in their early teens and young adult, young 20s, a lot of their parents both were working and they didn't have that structure at home with the mother staying home with them, and we can see how that has affected them. A lot of these children aren't as respectful. They aren't as their temperament is different. They don't have really good relationships with their moms. And so it's just a lot of things that they miss out on by not having that time with their mom one-on-one.
Oof,
So
man.
I don't see it down as a bad thing. Like, maybe like 15, 20 years ago, I used to maybe feel like, wow, don't you want your own money? Why would you have to depend on someone? But now, looking at how these children are turning out, I do see there's a difference,
Ooh,
compared to when I said my grandmother was home with my mom. My mom was the youngest, so just being home and raising her kids and getting them to school and feeding them every meal and just being there for them when they get home from school. I think it is a difference compared to, like when I was in school, I was a so-called latchkey kid. My mom is working and I come home to empty house. It's just different. And so, but I turned out perfectly, but I'm saying that didn't. But then again, see, this is the difference. When I was younger, under 6 and 7, I would say under 7, my grandmother used to help my mom a lot with me, and she
mm-hmm,
would take care of me a lot.
mm-hmm.
So I still had someone, even though it wasn't my mom, I still had someone like there watching me, all of that. But these kids that literally have to just deal with the working parent, you don't see them till 6, that's when you have to get picked up by, and then you get dropped off to school at 7:30, 8 o'clock, and you don't see them all day, and you only have an hour or two. We talked about that before. And
Yes,
now it's a difference.
it
And I'm
is.
referring to like the preschool age, 2, 3, and 4. I
Mhm.
had to go back to work when my son was only 6 weeks. And I went back to work with my daughter when she was 3 months. So I can tell the difference compared to people who did stay home with their child until they were 2 or 3, or maybe even 5. There is a difference with those children. So no, I
Mm,
don't see it the same way that I used to. I think it's a noble thing for mothers to sacrifice making that money, to sacrifice that to for those few years to be home with their children.
ooh, all right, Nadia. So Nadia, so you did make me think of one thing, and about making the decision. So if the man is the head of the household, right, and you're
Yes.
head at work, and there's a decision that has to be made on something. So he talks to you about it, and you're not really, up for that decision. You don't really agree with it, but he's like, "Hey, gun ho, we are going to do this." Do you think that you would allow him to make that decision, be the ultimate decision maker in your relationship?
Well, I mean, going back to what I said before, I would definitely have to be with someone that I respected
Yes.
and I knew that they were making good decisions just in
Right.
general. And that, so if I'm marrying this person, that means that I'm trusting them with my life, literally.
Right.
Because if they have say in my money, that is literally my livelihood, you know, and my children's livelihood. I have one child under 18 that I have to take care of. So if I'm marrying someone, they have my control of my livelihood that affects me and my children and my grandchild. So whatever decision that they make, yes, I would be able to, because I would make sure I put that time in to make sure this is someone that I trust and that they're hearing from, they're seeking wise counsel, that they're making good decisions, and regardless if I agree with it or not, I have to trust that person is making the best decision for me and my house,
Okay.
not just for him.
So you can
So
relinquish that.
yeah.
So what's the odds of a man being a leader and not making that much money? You know what I mean? Like, do you think someone who is a leader has those kind of characteristics are going to be making, let's say, 30,000 or less, or 40,000? You get what I'm saying? Like, if he
Mhm.
has that leadership mentality, what's the odds of him not being ambitious and not, making the money that he needs to make? You get what I'm trying to say?
Yes. And it could just be a lack of education. I
Mhm.
know for my position, current position, I only received it. Well, that's not the only reason, but one main reason why I qualified was because I had my master's degree. And that person, if they don't have that opportunity, they may it could just be lack of education and not really lack of common sense or lack of, other things. It just could be the lack of education. And education to everyone, people know they need it, but it's hard. It's hard to go back to school as a 30-year-old or 35-year-old. I went back when I was about 28, I think 27, 28 to get my associates, and I thought I was going to stop there, but I kept going. But it was hard to be in class, being 30, and then I was pregnant at 30 with my son, going to class 9 months pregnant, and you're sitting next to someone that's 19. It's
It's
hard.
true. Literally, it's true.
And so, yeah, so some men can't really tolerate that on their ego, or
Yeah.
they have a fear of failure. And I know some women too have told me that they're scared to go back to school because they have a fear of failure, or they're scared of school or whatever. But that doesn't mean that they don't have the wits behind them. But they have street smart, they still have common sense. They still can make those good decisions. So I don't feel like, I think a part of the lower salary could be just the lack of education for me. That's what I would think. But also too, sometimes, but I think that this type of person I know, I want that person to want to be ambitious enough. They may not have to make $100,000 in a job, but they will have enough wherewithal to maybe do side hustles, to do things on the side, to have a different skill so they can have their main job and just do things on the side when they need it or if it's necessary, or just have a passion about something. Sometimes your
Yeah.
passion won't bring you a lot of money, but if they're really passionate
Yeah.
about doing something, I can honor that. I can look up to that. You may not be making a lot of money doing it, but you're happy, you're making a difference in people's lives. That matters more to me than anything.
Okay. Ooh, I love it, Nadia. Okay, great conversation. So yeah, so this whole thing is about men and women listening, this modern day, the challenges we have dating modern day women in our just modern day society. So I love, love, love. I think all of you ladies brought some really good nuggets in these different conversations. You guys watching at home, make sure you leave us comments, keep the conversation going. Let's talk about solutions, okay? Because we're really here to kind of find a way to kind of bridge again that divide between the modern day men and women. Hopefully
Yeah.
the things you've heard has really helped you get a perspective on the modern day women and also to, what we can do to make it work. Thank you so much, Nadia, for being on the show today. You look beautiful. And I'm going to put Nadia's information down here, okay? So if you guys want to check her out, she's got, tell us a little spiel about what you got going on, Nadia. Tell us.
Oh, well, since you asked, my Instagram is Nadia is a gym, and my business Instagram is crown_train_consult. So basically, for my business, I'm creating something that will be a good resource for startups and new entrepreneurs, people who are already entrepreneurs that have an established business but want to take it to the next level. So basically, I'll be doing workshops and trainings to help people really get to the next level in their business, either starting it or just taking it up a notch.
Okay, love it. All right, so thank you so much again, Nadia, and for
Thank
being our
you.
top fan always with
Yes,
us. And we'll
yes.
see you. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, love, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time on My Comfy Couch. Toodles.